but I guarantee it's highlight worthy. Oh my goodness!
It's common knowledge that professional wrestling is mostly scripted. However, the hard bumps and dangerous landings make the wrestler susceptible to real-life injuries every time they step into the squared circle. Even after years of perfecting wrestling maneuvers, it often takes a slight mistake, which can sometimes cause career-threatening injuries. Although the performers take all the necessary precautions while competing between the ropes, a mishap is never too far. Over the years, there have been many instances of wrestlers succumbing to devastating injury in WWE, either due to an accident or through pure negligence. Join us as we examine the 12 most devastating career-threatening injuries and accidents in WWE history. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Cody Rhodes' pectoral problem. Expectations were sky high when Cody Rhodes returned to WWE at WrestleMania 38 in 2022. The American Nightmare didn't disappoint either, as he went on to defeat the Stanford-based promotion's top guy, Seth Rollins, not once, but twice. The two were scheduled to face each other again in the 2022 Hell in a Cell PLE, but that's when tragedy struck. Rhodes first suffered from a pectoral tear during the build-up to the high-octane encounter on an episode of Raw. Still, things were not as bad as they turned out later. The former AEW EVP's pectoral muscle completely tore off from the bone during weight training in preparation for the match. The entire right chest, shoulder, and arm area of Rhodes had a massive red spot, revealing the true extent of his injury. However, he miraculously put on a 5-star display. Moreover, the former Intercontinental Champion went on to pick up the win. Rhodes underwent surgery shortly after competing in the painful encounter and was out of action for almost 8 months. He had a comeback to remember as he returned in the 2023 Royal Rumble match and won the 30-man match to punch his ticket to the WrestleMania 39 main event. It's fair to say it was a dream way to bounce back from a scary injury. Finn Balor labrum's injury that significantly hurt his career push. Finn Balor had a main roster debut that only few are afforded, as he earned the right to compete in the final for the newly unveiled WWE Universal Championship at SummerSlam 2016. First, by prevailing in a fatal 4-way match, then by outlasting Roman Reigns in a one-on-one encounter. Balor's opponent in the final was the Visionary, Seth Rollins. The two gifted performers put on an absolute show in a nearly perfect match. Both competitors gave their all in the intense affair, which saw a back-and-forth battle of supremacy. In the end, Balor won the match event bout and was crowned the first ever WWE Universal Champion. Everything was going along well until WWE announced that the Irish wrestler suffered from a tear in his labrum during his clash with Rollins. It was later revealed that Balor sustained the injury while taking a powerbomb from the former Shield member onto the barricade at the ringside. Moreover, the former NJPW grappler was forced to relinquish his title within 24 hours of winning it. What made the injury even more excruciating for Balor is that he never managed to recreate his magic and failed to get back to the absolute top of the promotion. Although he mounted his comeback to the WWE programming within 6 months after undergoing surgery, he was sadly never given the same push. An example of an untimely injury changing the whole career path of a promising wrestler. Triple H's nightmarish quad injury. In a legendary career that stretches decades, Triple H has suffered from many horrific injuries, none more so than the freakish quad injury that he sustained in 2001. During a power-packed edition of Raw as War, he was defending the WWE Tag Team belts along with his partner, Stone Cold Steve Austin. The heel duo took on the crowd-favorite team of Chris Jericho and Chris Benoit in a star-studded matchup. Exactly when the game suffered from the quad tear is not known. It was roughly around the time Jericho had Austin pinned down in the walls of Jericho's submission hold. The successful completion of the bout was thrown in jeopardy owing to the painful quad tear injury. However, in a recent interview, Jericho revealed that Triple H was adamant that they go for the planned finish, which saw him take the walls of Jericho hold onto the announcer's table. Moreover, the cerebral assassin headed to the ring and completed the match while keeping the huge amount of pain at bay. Anyone who follows sports experts note that a quad injury immediately messes with an athlete's ability to walk properly. The fact that Triple H somehow worked through the massive pain barrier shows his commitment to the craft. The current chief content officer of WWE spent around 8 months on the sidelines before making his much-awaited return to a raucous reception from the crowd gave him a hero's welcome.
Do this, John! Good God Almighty!
John Cena's miraculous return after pectoral scare. Being on top of WWE's food chain isn't easy. One has to compete week in and week out to prove their mettle in the front of an ever-demanding audience. Performing consistently at the top level makes wrestlers more vulnerable to potential injuries. That is precisely what happened with John Cena in 2007. The tragic injury occurred when the Cenation leader took on Mr. Kennedy in a regular match on an edition of Monday Night Raw. Cena completely tore off his right pectoral muscle from the bone while performing a hip toss on his opponent on the Red Brand show. Ever the professional, he completed the bout, fighting through the excruciating pain. The initial diagnosis of the 16-time world champion revealed that he would miss between 6 to 12 months of in-ring action. However, in a massive surprise, Cena mounted a spirited comeback to the 2008 Royal Rumble match in front of a joyous Madison Square Garden crowd. An injury that would have taken months or even years off some other wrestler's career took Cena just 4 months to recover. Another instance that proves the Doctor of Thugonomics is built differently. Sting's initial retirement. The WCW legend Sting competing in a WWE ring was a dream for many fans. However, for one reason or another, they had to wait till 2015 to see the icon finally join the promotion. The audience was willing to look past the former WCW heavyweight champion's lackluster feud with Triple H as he entered a rivalry with then WWE champion Seth Rollins, an up-and-coming performer set on a collision course with a certified legend of the business. What could possibly go wrong? It turns out, everything. Rollins and Sting squared off against each other at the 2015 Night of Champions event for the company's flagship title. During the generational encounter, the champion performed his customary buckle bomb on the challenger, which resulted in a serious neck and spinal injury to the former TNA heavyweight champion. In a later interaction, Sting claimed that he felt numbness below his waist area after taking the maneuver and had difficulty moving for some moments. He was given immediate medical attention after the match concluded, and many believe this ended his iconic career in the squared circle. Even WWE acknowledged this and inducted him into its 2016 Hall of Fame class, an honor usually reserved for grapplers whose wrestling journey has ended. However, in an astounding return, the Stinger joined AEW in 2021 and donned his wrestling tights several times before ending his career on his own terms in early 2024. Joey Mercury's horrific injury. The majority of the time, wrestlers suffer from an internal muscle or ligament injury, the true extent of which cannot be seen visually. However, what happened to Joey Mercury at the 2006 Armageddon event was one of the scariest moments ever caught on a WWE camera. Mercury teamed up with his Eminem partner Johnny Nitro at that night to participate in a fatal 4-way tag team ladder match for the tag team title. In a dangerous spot, Matt Hardy held Mercury's head while his brother Jeff jumped onto a ladder that was supposed to bounce off and appear to connect to the cranium of the Eminem member. In a sick turn of events, the steel ladder actually connected with the wrestler's face, leading him to bust open and bleed profusely. The Richmond crowd watched in horror as blood splattered all over the ring from Mercury's face. Thankfully, the WWE officials at the scene understood the magnitude of the situation, and he was given immediate medical attention. The impact was so devastating that Mercury broke 4 bones on his face, and as many as 30 stitches were required to stabilize him. The injury is one of those rare instances that reveal the full extent of the hazards of professional wrestling.
Michaels, a power driver on metal steps! Oh no, steel.
Shawn Michaels loses years of his career. Shawn Michaels was at the top of his game when he came up against the resident deadman of WWE, The Undertaker. at the 1998 Royal Rumble PPV in a casket match, no less. He was unbeknownst to the fact that a small mistake during the bout would take off years from his career. One of the spots during the clash saw the Phenom throw Michaels out of the ring. That's when the then WWE Champion graced the casket kept at the ringside before falling to the floor. What seemed like a harmless graze at the time turned out to be a major back issue for the Heartbreak Kid. He herniated 2 discs in his back, which is not an ideal situation for an athlete. Regardless, Michaels kept going in the encounter, eventually winning due to Kane's blatant interference. However, the injury setback meant he couldn't compete in the ring for a long gap of 4 years. Michaels' return date to in-ring action was unclear. Rumors were strife about his already decorated career ending abruptly. Even though he portrayed various on-screen roles during this time, fans were devoid of seeing their hero compete in the squared circle for an extended amount of time. It wasn't until the 2002 SummerSlam PPV that Michaels marked his much-awaited return between the ropes against longtime friend and associate Triple H. Stone Cold's career gets shortened due to a neck scare. Many wrestling fanatics would have Stone Cold Steve Austin in their Mount Rushmore of professional wrestling, and with good reason. Hence, when he retired in 2003, it left a sour taste in many fans' mouths. The reason? Constant troubles with his neck. But where did his woes with the neck start? It was the fateful night of SummerSlam 1997, when the Texas Rattlesnake took on Owen Hart. During a spot in the match, Hart performed a dangerous tombstone piledriver on his opponent. Unfortunately, Austin landed directly on his head, and as he admitted later, this rendered him motionless for some time in the middle of the ring. He suffered from a bruised spinal column due to the botched move and stayed away from the in-ring action for 3 months. Even though Austin bounced back relatively quickly from the injury scare, he was never quite the same. It's fair to say that this fumbled piledriver was behind it, bidding adieu to the wrestling world somewhat early. Droz's life turned upside down. This injury is the one that has had the most devastating repercussions ever in a WWE ring. Darren Drozdom faced D'Lo Brown in a 1999 episode of SmackDown in a seemingly regular one-on-one affair. However, the events that transpired during the matchup were anything but regular. Brown performed a powerbomb on Droz, but he landed awkwardly on his neck instead of landing on his back. Unfortunately, this resulted in the performer being paralyzed and made him wheelchair-bound for the rest of his days. Droz managed to move his upper body and hands after a considerable amount of time, but his mobility continued to be limited. He never blamed Brown for his predicament and acknowledged that the mishap was an accident. The wrestler's devastating injury shook the entire wrestling world and made people aware of the real dangers of a so-called scripted sport. Droz passed away in 2023 after living 24 years in the aftermath of an injury that not only ended his career, but changed his life forever. Big E has yet to bounce back from a broken neck. Big E stars were on the rise, particularly in the 2020s, as he did the unthinkable by toppling Bobby Lashley in 2021 to win his first WWE title. It seemed the heavyweight performer was in for the long run, as he was among the company's top guys by the start of 2022. However, a botched overhead belly-to-belly suplex by Ridge Holland in a March 2022 edition of SmackDown proved devastating, as a New Day member landed carelessly on his head. He broke his C1 and C6 vertebrae in the freak accident. Big E had emergency surgery on his neck, and while the subsequent scans have shown signs of progress, it is unclear whether he'll ever be able to compete in the squared circle. The 8-time tag team champion remains positive on a potential return to the ring. Exactly when, though, is a question he doesn't seem to have the answer to. E has been part of the pre-show panels for many PLEs post his frightening injury, but his fans would hope he mounts a miraculous comeback between the ropes. Let's keep our fingers crossed for his return to action soon. The feat of strength goes sideways for Boogs. Getting a spot on the iconic WrestleMania card is a dream of many up-and-coming wrestlers. Rick Boogs managed to get a match on night 1 of WrestleMania 38, teaming up with Shinsuke Nakamura to take on the brotherly duo of the Usos. During the opening contest, Boogs attempted a Herculean feat by simultaneously lifting both Jay and Jimmy on his shoulders. However, as luck would have it, a landmark moment for the wrestler turned tragic within seconds as he tore his quad under the weight of the Usos. Boogs screamed in agony in the middle of the ring as he was removed from the match owing to the horrific injury. It took the muscular performer around 9 months to recover from the injury, as he wasn't back on WWE programming until early 2023.
I don't know, but I guarantee it's highlight worthy. Oh my God!
Night of Glory almost turned sour for Logan Paul. Heads were turned when WWE chose a relative newcomer in Logan Paul to challenge the then WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns at the 2022 Crown Jewel PLE. However, the masterclass along with Reigns, Paul's tremendous athleticism caught the audience's attention as he left no stone unturned, making his limited time in the spotlight count. However, in his effort to raise the stakes of the main event clash, this could have put the impulsive podcast host on the shelf for a long time. Fortunately, a thorough examination revealed that he sustained a sprained meniscus and MCL, quashing the rumors of a serious injury. Marvelous verdict. These dreadful injuries indicate that professional wrestling can be very dangerous if a performer misses the mark, even by the slightest of margins. Therefore, it's absolutely essential for the wrestlers to be extra careful, particularly while performing a potentially dangerous maneuver. Freak accidents will always be part and parcel of the business, but taking utmost care while in the squared circle could drastically reduce either the occurrence or severity of an injury setback. And that's the end of our video. If you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.